बहुत कुछ होने में। इतना सा फर्क है एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में। मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया, 20 years of ideas.
A very good afternoon to all the dear friends and potential business buyers. We Franchise India teams welcomes each one of you to our business opportunity over chai webinar series. This is the digital representation, and this is the webinar where we are digitally representing the business opportunity which we have got for you. Franchise India, an association which was established with the aim of providing maximum business opportunities, business solutions from our side to all the investors, so that they can take a conscious and informed decision of selecting the right franchise for themselves. And we truly claim that no one sells more business than us, because we have helped more than 80,000 investors in getting the right business directions from our side. With this introduction, it is our privilege to welcome and invite management team of Franchise India, Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am. During the course of the webinar, they'll be talking about industry, they'll be sharing their insights, viewpoint, and would be taking all your queries. So we request each one of you to maximize this event which we have organized for you. Share your questions in question and answer box. We'll be taking those during our panel discussion. The business opportunity which we have got for each one of you is Cuisina. It's a leading multi-brand cloud kitchen company. They already having presence with 700 virtual restaurant. They have presence in 11 prime cities. And today we have invited founder and CEO, Mr. Gautam, to talk about this brand. And now I request Sonia ma'am to formally invite our guest of honor for this webinar. Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am, for joining in today. May we request you to please host this webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashna. Friends, a very good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome you all to today's meet. And we have amongst us Mr. Gautam Balijipalli. He's the co-founder and CEO of Kouzina Food Tech. And Gautam, we welcome you to today's webinar to formally announce the launch of the first time ever an opportunity, friends, where you have an opportunity to partner with Cuisina Kitchens. And I will also share a brief introduction about the opportunity in Gautam. And Gautam is a very seasoned entrepreneur and also a serial entrepreneur who, after completing his education from IIM Madras and also London School of Business, he's worked with Infosys, PwC, before he set out on his entrepreneurial journey by founding his first tech company. And he has also been instrumental in defining the business model and blueprint then for future business of Food Panda and Ola Foods, which we are all aware of. And Cuisina is a food tech company which was co-founded by Gautam in 2015. And the entire team at Cuisina has worked in the last 6 odd years where they have kind of evolved the business model. They worked on the business model, which started as a single kitchen, and they started with their own equity kitchens. And now the brand is present all across as a multi-brand where technology is the foundation of the business. So the company is a tech-driven brand which is running in more than 700 virtual kitchens all across India. So friends, we have the privilege of having Gautam with us, and I will also request all of you, while we take you through the presentation, we also have a Q&A box down. Whatever questions you have while you go through the presentation, you may put that in the Q&A box, and we'll take it with Gautam after the presentation is over. So without taking much more time, Gautam, I'll request you, and let's hear from the man himself. Gautam, over to you.
Thank you, Sonia. Hi, Mr. Maria. How are you?
Very well.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for joining. So I will walk you through a presentation for the next 20-25 minutes, and then we can open it up for Q&A. I think that would be an apt format, I would assume. Sure. Let me just share my screen for a second. Sorry. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, we can see that, Gautam.
Okay, sure.
We have to.
I think we can go full screen.
Full screen.
Yeah, I'm just doing that one second. Okay, great. So welcome everybody. Like Sonia has introduced me, my name is Gautam. I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of the company. The company is called Cuisina Food Tech. At Cuisina, basically, we operate cloud kitchens with multiple brands from the same kitchen. Our overall mission or vision is to basically create a leading next generation cloud kitchen business with delicious food experiences, right? And all of our brands are delivery led. So the biggest difference between us and any regular food brand is we do not have a dine-in facility. Our brands are all technology enabled and available for purchase through various online channels, be it Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, or any other channel, or our own channel. So in every market that we have a kitchen, the consumer can purchase from any of our brands using these online channels, right? And this is what is called a cloud kitchen. So I'll start off with why this is an exciting opportunity. I mean, food delivery, I think, as we all know, in the last 4 or 5 years has become very, very big in India. Almost 20 crore people are expected to have ordered through food delivery online, right? And the demand is growing. Cloud kitchens are the only model which are enabling us to keep up with that demand. What the pandemic has unfortunately also done is that a number of offline restaurants have been shut down. So consumers continue to order, and where will they get the food from? Cloud kitchens is where they get the food from. And within those cloud kitchens, we are obviously amongst the leading players in the country today. And that is the opportunity. So growing food delivery demand, consumers continuing to order, and we have cloud kitchens across different parts of the country today. And with some of you signing up to partner with us, we hope that we can take this across rest of the country. Right? So that's the larger opportunity. Broadly, in a gist, I think we'll walk through the financials at a later point in time.
Gautam, I'll just bother you here. We can't see the PPT full screen, and I think we are at, yeah. You want me to help you with the PPT? I can share my screen. And
so you can't see anything?
We can see the PPT, but it's not full screen, first of all. And I think you are at slide number 7. You have to just, okay, you have to remove it and then upload it. You want me to help you with the PPT? I can do that.
No, hang on. Let me try one more.
Sure.
Sorry for that. Is this better, Sonia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we can go from the first.
Okay, sure. So sorry for that. So let me just go back to where I was. Like I said, basically, food delivery is an industry which has scaled up significantly, continues to become big every single day. And with the pandemic, a lot of restaurants have been shutting down, but consumers are continuing to order. Right? And where will the food be prepared? Where will those orders be dispatched from? They will all have to be done from cloud kitchens. And us being one of the leading players in the country. I think we've seen significant growth in the last 12 months, and we want to continue growing on that trajectory as we work with Franchiseindia and any of you who's interested in signing up with us. So broadly, Kouzina, what we do is it's a cloud kitchen company with multiple brands operating from the same kitchen. Each kitchen has about 8 brands, and we may launch a few more brands as we go through this journey. All of these kitchens typically are in low rental locations. Unlike a offline restaurant, there is no requirement to do a lot of interiors, fancy seating areas, etc. So the investment is also fairly limited. Operations are all optimized because we run about 40 kitchens today, including some of the kitchens which are our equity kitchens where we've invested and we've mastered the operations. And most importantly, all of this is enabled by technology, given our own backgrounds, which I will talk about in a bit. But we all come from the technology industry, internet industry, from companies like Ola, Flipkart, Amazon, etc. So we use all of that experience to provide a technology platform which allows people to run this business, because cloud kitchen is not just a food business. There is also a significant digital or technology angle to it. That's what we bring in. Our belief is that we should be able to deliver about 8 to 10 times the return on capital in about 5 years. We are inspired by Domino's in the US, where average partner in Domino's franchisee has been with the company for about 18 years and end up owning multiple locations. So we believe that we want to build a company where it's a win-win for us as well as our partners, and over a period of time deliver about 8 to 10 times the return on the initial capital that's invested. And as we go through that, we hope that more of you would sign up for additional locations along the way. Right? Yeah, I have briefly covered it, but food delivery is expected to be a $35 billion industry, right? And that is where our opportunity is. In India, the penetration is very, very low as compared to most of the other markets, and it will continue to increase over the years. And especially with now Zomato doing an IPO, etc., this will only continue to grow. And this is broadly the opportunity from a different perspective. If you take North America, USA, there are more than 100 brands which which have 500 plus locations, $500 million in revenues. Right? China, similarly, very large number. India has just one, right? And that is Domino's Pizza. Right? And the opportunity now is to create multiple such brands, and cloud kitchens is the model to actually get there. Right? So that is what we are actually talking about here. Basically, an opportunity to participate in the growth of or creation of a large brand over the next 4 to 5 years, which is largely enabled by food delivery. And let me now just get into the details of Kouzina. So at Kouzina, we operate, like I said, a platform of food brands which are serviced through a network of hyperlocal cloud kitchens. So in every 3 to 5 kilometer zone, we will have a kitchen in different cities. From the kitchen, multiple brands, and I'll talk about these brands. And because of the choice of categories and the brands that we've created, the economics become fairly attractive. Right? This is where we are today, about 40 kitchens live and 10 more upcoming over the course of the next month or so. We operate about 400 restaurants on the Swiggy platform, similar such number on the Zomato platform, and Amazon has launched in Bangalore, so similar large number of that nature in Amazon on Amazon. Typically, today we have 8 brands, and our presence is deepest in Bangalore, where we have 22 kitchens, followed by Hyderabad and some of the tier 2 cities in South India, which is Mysore, Mangalore, Hubli, Vizag, etc. We haven't covered a whole lot of cities in the country yet. Right? And the opportunity for cloud kitchens exists not just in tier 1 cities, but even tier 2 cities. In fact, some of our tier 2 locations, which is Bhubaneswar, Mysore, Bangalore or Manipal are doing extremely well in a short period of time. Yeah, so essentially, in a gist, this is what we, like I said, we basically operate in multiple categories. We have Warm Oven, which is a cake brand, followed by three other cake brands, which is, three other dessert brands, which is Cupcake Bliss, which is a cupcake only brand, Desert Zone, which is a dessert brand, Slurpee Shakes, which is a thick shakes brand, and Sunday Everyday, which is a Sunday brand. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have two burger brands, Indiana Burgers and Burger It Up, and Carty Zone, which is a rolls and wraps brand. And broadly, we operate in those categories or sectors which are less likely to be prepared at an Indian household, and which are very emotional in terms of the way the consumer purchases it. The reason why we have picked this is that this gives us the opportunity to have a very strong pricing power in terms of what we get from the customer, which translates into much better margins. Right? Like I said, these are all underpenetrated online categories. There exist hardly any brands, and that's the reason why wherever we've opened our kitchens, we see really good traction. We then, along the way, we also look at how is the kitchen actually utilized. A typical kitchen would have about 8 to 10 people, and it operates for more than 15-16 hours in a day. Using these 8 to 10 people, how can we actually get the best productivity and ensure that everybody is able to deliver everything? So that's something that we keep in mind. So our kitchens get utilized extremely well. The operations are very, very simple. We operate through a combination of frozen and fresh supply chains. So when I say frozen, all of our brands in the snacking category, which is your rolls, wraps, and the burger brands, all operate on a frozen supply chain. So the products are centrally prepared frozen, very similar to how a McDonald's or a Burger King would operate. And it gets assembled in the cloud kitchen. So it doesn't require any chef to actually prepare the product. It's all easy to assemble. In 3 minutes, anybody can assemble a burger or a roll. And for the dessert category, again, it's a fresh supply chain, but all of this is on the basis of standardized raw materials. And every individual in the kitchen gets trained using our online tech platform, where we publish all the recipes. There are videos for the staff to view, and they get trained and certified every single month, right? And then, like I said, all of this leads to a very efficient operating model, where we have common equipment, common capabilities, or the same people do everything, and the raw materials are also standardized. Yeah, this is basically, I've covered this, but this is broadly an overview of some of our brands. Warm Oven is a cake and dessert brand. We're probably the largest online cake brand today. Indiana Burgers and Burger It Up are two burger brands. Carty Zone is a rolls and wraps brand. Slurpee Shakes is a milkshakes brand. Desert Zone is a dessert only brand. Sunday Everyday is a ice cream and sundae brand. And Cupcake Bliss is a cupcake brand. The reason why we also have multiple brands is that if by operating multiple categories, you can get orders from different categories in the same market. So in any market, if you take an example, I live in Bangalore. So if you take a market like Koramangala, which is an area in Bangalore, there is always enough demand for cakes, burgers, rolls, shakes, cupcakes, and ice creams, right? So we are able to capture demand from multiple different categories from the same set of equipment, same set of investment that we made, the same kitchens that we operate from. So each kitchen would have all of these 8 brands, and we capture demand from the consumers from in every micro market for any of these categories, but all of that gets fulfilled from the same kitchen. Since we are largely online driven brand, it's supremely important to ensure that the ratings are the best, and that is how the customer decides. And I'm proud to say that in every one of the markets, we have some of the best ratings for any of these brands online. All of our brands operate at a 4 or near to 4 or 4+ rating on these platforms. And this is just an example of some of the feedback that we've received from customers. But fundamentally all these brands operate at very good ratings from customers. And we use our tech platform to ensure that the kitchen, whether it's run by us or by any of the partners, the kitchen managers, the kitchen staff understand what happened in the business the previous day, look at the ratings from the previous day, identify the challenges to improve, and that becomes an ongoing process of improvement, which leads to better and better ratings over time, which eventually translates to better business at every location. Yeah, I think Sonia has introduced me, but let me just take a few minutes to introduce the team. So like I said, my background, I've been an entrepreneur before, and I was also instrumental in leading some of the food business at Ola. I studied in IIT Madras and eventually London Business School, where I did my MBA. Along with me, I have 3 other co-founders. Mahesh used to be in Flipkart and Amazon, and he's a MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Sumit, who's a CTO, used to be at companies like Oracle and Broadcom. He's a graduate of IIT Delhi. And Rohan, who's been an entrepreneur in the restaurant space for most of his career, is the head of our operations. So all 4 of us have been in this industry for more than 8 years, understand food and food delivery, and we built a lot of technology that enables success in running cloud kitchens. Briefly on the opportunity itself, typical kitchen would cost about 13 to 16 lakhs to set up. There is a bit of a range on that, because if you were to set up a kitchen, there's enough and more second-hand equipments available today. We'll be more than happy if you can reduce your cost and buy second-hand equipment. So if you were to buy completely second-hand equipment, your investment goes down to about 13 lakhs. And with fresh, completely new equipment, it would be about 16 lakhs. This includes a registration fee of about 5 lakh rupees to be paid to us along the way. With this investment over a 5-year period, you would expect to see about 8 to 10 times the money that you've invested, and the capital that is invested upfront should come back to you in about 18 months approximately. In our whole, so we operate about 20 odd kitchens of our own. In our whole journey as a company in the last 7-8 years, we have not shut down kitchens because they have not performed well. We've shut down kitchens or transferred kitchens because we had some small issues with the landlords, etc. But from a business perspective, we've not shut down kitchens at all. Right? In terms of how the commercials it would work, there are 3 modes in which the sales would come to the kitchens or for any of these brands. If the sale is generated locally by you as a partner, where you put in most of the effort, 95% of the total sale value is retained by you, which is, when I say you, what we call as a Kouzina kitchen partner or a KKP. When we get the kitchen, when we get the order through online aggregators like a Swiggy or Zomato, 90% of the sale value is paid to the KKP, but there will be an adjustment for the aggregator commission and any marketing spend if done. The third channel is our own website, where we've invested in the technology. We run a website for Warm Oven, which is our cake brand. We invest in marketing to generate orders, etc. There, 75% of the sale value would go to the partner. Yeah, so this is what we would enable or support you with. It's a proprietary technology platform that we built. This allows you to manage all the brands online without much of an effort. It also gives you tools and techniques to run the operation. Supply chain is all managed by us, and the revenue management, which is how do you get orders, how do you get sales, we will support you on that. Yeah, so this is a slightly more detail on it, which is we'll partner with you to work with all the aggregators. We'll take care of the onboarding on Swiggy and Zomato. Based on our own experience of having run about 800 virtual restaurants from 40 of these locations, we will apply the same best practices on menu management, pricing, promotions to support you. And we use multiple levers to ensure that the orders are coming to your location along the way. This could be discounts, marketing, pricing, any special changes to the menu based on events, etc. Finally, since we are obviously a delivery-led company, we as a corporate continue to invest in packaging, and that experience, that investment into packaging that we do, the innovation that we do on packaging will all be something that we will share with you for your benefit. From an operations perspective, like I was mentioning earlier, all the critical metrics will be at your fingertips. This would be through what we call daily kitchen dashboards, and all of the data would be available. So sitting, you don't necessarily need to be in the kitchen, but sitting anywhere, you can look at the data and understand how the operations are running. And along with that, we will obviously give you support on inventory management and the tools that go with it, regular training and assessment of the staff, and all the SOPs and the recipes and the culinary processes. We will support you along with videos which are enabled on the tech platform that I've been referring to. In addition to that, obviously during the launch process, we will support you with the kitchen layouts, equipment, staff hiring. And for the first month or so, we would send 2 of our bakery chefs to operate at your kitchen to train the people and also make sure that the kitchen has a safe launch process. So this is the support that we provide on the operations front. And finally, on the technology part, we give you a platform to manage all of the orders very easily. Like I said, we have 8 brands and multiple channels from where the orders would come. It could be a Swiggy or a Zomato or our own website. So it can get a little complex, which is where our technology platform comes in very handy. In addition to that, obviously, there's a lot of data and reports that we provide you with. And then, like I mentioned, there's a training and development app, and also to monitor the processes. And we also give you access to all of the data from an accounting perspective. That's broadly about us, how we plan to support you. If I just take a step back and summarize, this is a big opportunity. Cloud kitchens are exploding across the country, but without having the tech enablement, the understanding of these platforms, understanding of how to use digital technologies to run this business, and strong operations expertise, it becomes very hard to run and scale this business. We have done it at 40 locations so far, and if any of you signs up, with your support, we want to take it to multiple hundreds of more locations across the country, right? And we've been in this industry. We've been in companies like Swiggy, Zomato, or I've been at Food Panda, which is very similar to Swiggy or Zomato. So we understand how Swiggy, Zomato operate, and that gives us an advantage over anybody else in this industry. So that's broadly about us. Looking forward to hearing from you. Happy to take any questions along the way.
Thank you, Gautam, and thanks for a great presentation. And we all know your experience, what you build, and you have your own personal experience, and now a fantastic team which comes with you to really run the brands which you have in a portfolio. I will maybe open up with a few questions and then pass it on to Sonia, and then Sonia would go into much deeper detail and also take questions from audience. Do that. So friends, please use Q&A box to ask as many questions you have, and Sonia would take up all the questions on your behalf, and we'll take maximum out of Gautam in this webinar, because it's more effective when you have a lot of questions and we really debate on that. So I'll split my question into 2 broad parts. One is a little bit of what I call the macro understanding of this industry, and where do you see in next 3 to 5 years, while we all know that there is a huge shift which has happened in last 4 or 5 years on food delivery consumption. But what are the key trends at a macro level, if you want to really being a front runner of this business? How do you see next 4 or 5 years how this industry is going to look? I'll further elaborate the question in terms of how the industry outlook from a financial performance or an overall growth viewpoint. Second, what would dominate in the priority of a customer? Would the customer be cuisine focused, brand focused, or a combination of multiple things which you think would really come in? Because we have seen sometime it was very value driven. People were buying only what is more offers running on that. Sometimes they started shifting on, like when Corona happened, people started shifting on trusted brands because they felt they were able to get better hygiene, better quality, better this. So what is a trend you see? What is 5 years from now? How do you really see that segmentation and a broader economic growth part of it? That's one part of the question. And second part of the question would be more on unit economics and performance, which is more the micro part of the business. So because I always say that any investor has to balance between these two. One, he has to see the broader picture of how the industry is going to look like. And if I participate in the industry, there is enough and more for you to do that. And second, on the unit economics, that if you put that unit, how the economics would work out. So these are two broader questions. If you want to add anything on that, please do that.
No, sure. The great question. Thank you for that, Mr. Maria. So let me start with the macro question itself, right? I think, like we all know, about 5 years ago, food delivery did not exist at all in India, but today it's a big force in the restaurant industry, and it's become the de facto mode in which all of us actually consume food. I think with the pandemic, like you rightly said, people have started ordering more at home. I don't think people are going out to eat. But basic human tendency is that we can't, we will want to order food from outside. We are used to that as consumers, right? So food delivery will continue to grow. I think, like I mentioned in the deck when I was talking about the presentation, food delivery penetration in India as compared to most of the other markets is significantly lower. And that is where the opportunity for growth for food delivery exists in the next 4 to 5 years. And like I mentioned, while the food delivery is continuing to grow, what has also happened, unfortunately, because of the pandemic in the last 15 months or 18 months, is that restaurants have struggled because restaurants operate on very high cost structures. You have to set up a restaurant. Our kitchen can be set up in, let's say, about 15 lakh rupees. Whereas if you have to set up a regular restaurant, it will not be less than 50 to 80 lakhs, right? So it operates on very high, not only just the investment, but very high cost structures for operation. So they have really struggled. So here we have a scenario today for the next 24 months, right, where consumers will continue to order food from outside, and the food has to be delivered or prepared in a certain place. Restaurants are struggling, so cloud kitchens come into play. I think somewhere, I'm sure you would be aware of it better than me, but I think cloud kitchens globally is supposed to be a $30 billion or $40 billion opportunity. India alone, it's supposed to be a $2 billion opportunity in the next 5 years. And that's my outlook on the next 5 years, which is food delivery will continue to grow because there's enough room for growth there, and Swiggy, Zomato, and Amazon coming in, that will be a big force. Cloud kitchens will be the driver, or will be the key factor in the growth of this industry. And it's expected that about $3 billion of consumption spend would go from cloud kitchens. And in order to run and succeed in those cloud kitchens, obviously you need to have all the know-how, be it operations, supply chain, or technology, which is the key advantage. Now, moving from there, let me just move to the specifics of unit level economics, right? See, I think one very important thing to remember in this delivery-led ecosystem is what is the average order value. Right, majority of the brands that operate on Swiggy, Zomato sell at around 200 to 300 rupees. 300 rupees is the average order value. That makes it very challenging to make the kitchen level economics work. What we have done is chosen a set of categories with a mix of very high average order value and more frequently purchased products like burgers and rolls, which not only allows for the kitchen economics to get better and better, but also utilize the kitchen and the staff across the day. Right? So in from our own experience, some of our best kitchens here in Bangalore, which have been there for, let's say, more than 3 to 4 years, have started to do now about roughly about 30 lakh rupees of top line, right, per month. Right, which translates to about roughly kitchen level EBITDA or cash generated at a kitchen level of about 7.5 to 8 lakhs, 25% EBITDA at a kitchen level. That is because a significant part of our, about 50% of our business comes from very high AOV categories like cakes, right? An average cake. So there are two advantages in that category. One is it's a very high value product, and it's also a very high margin product. So this allows us to come up with a kitchen economics where we can get to about 30 lakhs a month over a period of time, at which point generate about 25% of it. This is how some of our best kitchens have been performing.
Absolutely, and very wisely said. And I always say that there are two different businesses. When you look at F&B retail, which is the F&B food service retail, which means that you run a restaurant or a cafe or anything else, is a very different business to when you run a cloud kitchen or a dark kitchen, because this is a very industrial process. In an industrial process, you need to really think about how do you really define better productivity, better efficiencies on the entire thing. How do you sweat out your asset more than what needs to be done? Which means it's like a factory. You want to make your machine run more than entire thing. So any kind of resources you deploy, you need to sweat out them much more. So what they're directly doing is that they're making multiple brands and leadership brands. So when you think about a particular dessert, then you think a leadership brand on that, and they can do different promotions, different menu products, and capture customer from different outlooks and different times when they want to make a purchase decision. And this all comes from stronger business intelligence. And because Gautam comes from that background, so he has empowered the company with a very, very strong business intelligence. So analytics would tell how much demand you can predict of what product at particular location needs to be done. So that's how they would do the mix of the brands and so on and so forth. So being an industrial kind of structure, it would also mean a lot of economies of scale, and which would mean right procurement to the best efficiencies to produce. And unless and until you are able to really address that in a proper way, which they have championed over now 40 locations, they are now a very, very experienced team to do that. So it becomes a great proposition. So congratulations, Gautam. I think you have really done well in terms of mastering this piece. And a lot of people who just as amateurs go into this business without understanding that it needs a stronger complexity or stronger capabilities being to be built before you even jump on that. It looks very easy just to start a dark kitchen or a cloud kitchen, but needs a very strong business intelligence at the back. So over to you, Sonia, for your questions, and also questions from the audience. A lot of questions coming from audience, and if you can also go on a specific cities, friends, where you have interest, because a lot of people are writing their interest, but it will be great if you go out and write the city you are keen. Then I think Sonia would pick that city and also ask that city from Gautam, is this city would be available? At Franchiseindia, we are very committed to the brand. We're very convinced of this opportunity. We are also, I take it very carefully to endorse a particular brand, but I can say with the experienced team and the reference point and the data we have got from them, this is a great opportunity for all of you to really consider and invest on that. So over to you, Sonia, for leading it further. Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, coming from you, I think that's a great endorsement. Thanks again. Sonia, look forward to your questions.
Okay, thanks, Gautam. And friends, I do see a lot of questions pouring in already. Do mention your cities, and I'll take these cities very specifically. So, we understand the value proposition is very clear, where Cuisina controls the brand and also the food experience, while the partner needs to have the management capabilities to run the day-to-day operations, where the company will help you leverage the data and also the tech platform. And because Cuisina has been designed keeping technology in mind, they can also optimize POS, is what I call, which is they can optimize processes, they can optimize ordering, they can optimize staff scheduling, which is based on the consumer behavior. So Gautam, going back to unit economics, and economic drivers are very different for a cloud kitchen compared to the other counterpart we talked about, be it location, be it the size of the kitchen, be it utilization of the kitchen, multiple versus single, and also the APCs that you pointed out. It is more of a volume business where you need to be on the right neighborhood. So the question which I wanted to be very specifically about, and you've talked about some of the mature kitchens you're doing sales, and then also locations which might comparatively be new. And the last 1.5 years, there must be a lot of learning that you had on what locations you must choose. What is the kind of rental we need to look at? What becomes our food cost? Would you want to give some understanding on these parameters to our audience?
Sure, absolutely. So let me just start with the location itself, right? So typically, a kitchen would require about 600 to 800 square feet today, right? And in a city like Bangalore, we have the deepest penetration, or about 22 kitchens. We have not paid more than 35 to 40,000 rupees of rent. Typically, this can be a kitchen which is on the first or second floor of a building, not necessarily on the ground floor. Need not be on a main street. It could be on one of the side lanes, etc. So, which allows you to have very low cost rental locations, right? Where we help a partner is that we will, once the partner has an interest in every city, we look at the data as part of the sign up process. We look at the data, identify areas where there is demand, right? And this is data which is internal to us. This is data that we get from the support of the aggregator platforms. We look at the areas where there's the best demand and recommend those areas to any partners, so that we are going to set up locations in the right areas where there is already existing demand. Once that is done, we also help with some heuristics, and we have a model internally to identify where exactly to set up the kitchen within a particular area. So we help in that. So that's the start of the process, which is basically how much space does a kitchen take, how much would it cost, and how do you identify a kitchen. Now, moving to your other questions on the cost structures, etc. Right? Typically, we have 2-3 categories of brands, but at an average level across all of the brands put together, right? About 35% of the net sale value, is what is the food plus packaging cost, which is the COGS, right? So now, if you look at the numbers that we've discussed very briefly during the presentation, if you take a sale that gets originated locally at the partner kitchen itself, where the entrepreneur is generating the sale, 95% of the sale value goes to the entrepreneur. We expect to get 5%. So out of that 95, 35 is the food plus packaging cost. This is 60% margin, right? Similarly, if you take our own website, 75% goes to the partner, 35% is the food plus packaging cost. So there's a 40% margin, right? The third channel through which sale comes, which is basically your Swiggy, Zomato, or any of these online platforms, 90% goes to the partner, and out of which there's a Swiggy and Zomato charge, which is about, let's say, 25%. So you're left with about 65%, and 35% being the food plus packaging cost. There's a 30% margin. So broadly, this is how the unit level, order level margins work. Typical kitchen, in our experience, like I said, 40,000 maximum for rent. Initially, at least till order volumes pick up, about 8 people in the kitchen, 7 or 8 people. So that's about 1 lakh rupees of salary overheads per month, and maybe another 20,000-30,000 rupees for running the kitchen. Right? Given that these are largely finishing kitchens where the product is actually semi-prepared centrally, and we enable it through our supply chain, there is not a whole lot of cost in running the kitchen. And the people who employ there are also not necessarily, qualified chefs. These could be freshers who go through the training process through our tech system, and they get certified, and then they can continue with the job. Right? So this is broadly how it works. About, let's say, maximum of overheads of 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees of overheads to run a kitchen. Margins I've already mentioned. A typical kitchen, in our experience, takes about 7 to 8 months to break even. And like I said, about 18 odd months, let's say, to get to a payback period. So on the initial capital that gets invested. Did I address the question, Sonia?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there something that's missing?
Yeah. So my next question, I want to take it on, our choice of the portfolio that we have, for the cloud kitchen. And I did see that coming from some of our audience also, on the screen, which I'm seeing. I have a question from Mr. Rahul. I did see somebody else also asking on the choice, and there's some categories specifically that we have kept. For example, burger, we have two brands, burger. Would you want to explain the difference between the two? And also some categories like South Indian biryani is what I'm seeing on the screen, where people are asking, why choice of only this 6 or 7, categories of brands that we have selected.
Sure. So I think, see, it's very important to remember how to pick these categories because if you take a biryani, for example, there are, as per my understanding and knowledge, there are about 12 or 15 different styles of preparing biryani. What sells in a Hyderabad, which is the Hyderabadi biryani, Paradise Biryani being the largest brand that one has come out of Hyderabad, may not necessarily be very successful in Tamil Nadu, where there's a brand called Talapakkat Biryani, which is a very different style of preparation. Whereas you go to Lucknow, there are other brands, etc. So biryani, by definition, becomes a very difficult product to have in across the country, because customer is expecting very different tastes in each of these markets, and creating a product which does not require chefs, can appeal to customers across all of the country, becomes very, very hard to succeed at. And if you're not a number 1 or number 2 player in a category, it becomes it's not worth playing in that category, because there's enough and more competition in those categories, especially in biryani. There's also a lot of competition locally. For these reasons, I think we've not gone into biryani, because it's a very, very competitive space. Not only are there very large, strong, successful regional brands, but there are also enough and more local brands in every market, which makes it very hard to compete with. And in such a competing category, what happens is that your pricing goes for a toss, where you can't really charge a premium to the customer, because there's always 20 other people who are willing to give the product much cheaper to the customer, right? So that's so what we have done is we have chosen categories where we think we can ensure that the margins can continue to be very strong, no matter which part of the country we are selling in. We've chosen categories where the product does not require to be changed significantly. A chocolate cake is a chocolate cake, whether it's sold in Delhi, Bangalore, Mysore, or Indore, or no matter which part of the country is, right? Or a burger is also very similar. So that's the way we look at categories. We will obviously be launching a few more brands, but in those categories which are let's say universally accepted across the country. Taste profile is fairly standardized and very easy to operationalize. Biryani, again, is a very complicated product to prepare in a kitchen, right? Whereas the products that we've selected are very, very easy to operationalize. I think, like Mr. Maria was mentioning, this is not a fine dine restaurant. A cloud kitchen is more closer to, like he said, an industrial way of looking at things. You have to think about utilization, you have to think about productivity, to use data to increase the throughput or increase the number of orders in a kitchen, etc. So choice of categories therefore becomes very, very important from a long-term success perspective. There's one more question that you had asked: why do we have two burger brands, right? So we have Indiana Burgers and Burger It Up, which are two burger brands. Burger It Up originally started as an exclusive brand in partnership with Swiggy, where Swiggy came back to us saying that, look, you have this scale, you have the capability, you have the understanding of this business, and since you already operate in one burger brand, can we do an exclusive brand in partnership with you, where they will help and support the brand, right? Very recently, we have now taken that brand live on Zomato and Amazon also. In fact, about last week ago, we stopped the exclusivity, but we got some support from Swiggy on the brand development along the way. Right. The way these two burger brands operate is there's a significant overlap in the inventory, because every burger has a bun. That's the most common overlap, but even the patties and what goes inside, there's some level of overlap. So we are essentially utilizing the inventory, turning the inventory a lot more instead of sitting on dead stock, by having multiple brands which are in adjacent categories.
Sure, that's very, very helpful. And very quickly, I do see a lot of questions. And friends, we just have the next 7-8 minutes. So I'll try to take questions as much I can during its time. So Cotton, my next question would be on the locations. And I do see inquiries from Vijayawada, Guntur, Pune, and some other cities. And I do also see Mr. Krishnan from Pondicherry asking which are the markets which are open. And if that is a good location, Pondicherry is one of the markets he's from. He's asking if that is a good location for him to get into a business model.
Sure. In fact, we do have one location in Pondicherry. But going back to the larger question, I think there are about 40 to 50 cities which are the top tier cities, as well as the next level cities, which I'm sure I think the Franchiseindia team can share with you once you've expressed interest. So about 40 to 50 cities where there's an opportunity we see in the next 12 to 24 months where this business can really pick up. Right. Bangalore, obviously, where we have 22 locations already, there is very limited opportunity. Most of the other places, there is enough opportunity. And I think, Sonia, perhaps you can, maybe you can share the list with the participant.
Yeah, and in fact, because I did see some cities being put by our audience and some of them have not shared. And friends, about 60 odd cities like Gautam mentioned, and we can share all these cities with you. So this is quite spread, throughout from North India to down south. These are all locations open. So Gautam, like you mentioned, you already have a big cluster in Bangalore and about 22 kitchens operating in a single city and very, very competitive, but also a lot of your mature kitchens which are doing very, very well. So what is the ideal spacing or radius, which is given to maybe, one kitchen from the other kitchen? And that remains same throughout maybe a tier 1 city, and I'm sure tier 2 would have different kind of dynamics. Do we have a thumb rule that we follow when we keep a distance?
Sure, absolutely we do. Roughly about 3.5 to 5 kilometers a distance between the two kitchens is what we follow as a thumb rule. Tier 2, it's a little bit more flexible as compared to that, but in tier 1, that's the thumb rule that we follow.
All right. Okay, I'll take one question from Ajitab. I think he's asking for the second time. And while I did answer that privately, this is a franchisee and franchisee operated model. But his question is, are we looking at something where the company can take care of the operations and the franchisee is a pure investor? Is that something which is a model, Gautam, that you would want to consider, or you want to respond to this question?
So as of now, we don't have any partners in that model, but I think if there is significant interest in that kind of a model, we are open to kind of considering that. But as of now, out of the 18 to 20 partners that we have taken live, most of them own and operate the location themselves.
Okay. And Gautam, like you mentioned, some cities you already have big. So would Bangalore be a negative city for us to explore partners, or you would still have some hotspots, where they can be a possible partner coming in and operating?
Sure. No, Bangalore is one example where maybe perhaps there'll be an opportunity for 1 or 2 more kitchens to set up. But beyond that, there will be no opportunity in Bangalore because we already have 22 kitchens in different parts of Bangalore. So that's my view on Bangalore.
Sure. Okay, I'll take Mr. Vishwanath. He's asking from Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is open, Vishwanath ji. We can come back to you with the much more detailed understanding on the business. I think Raghavendra ji is asking if we have to hire or own the place. It can be a place which can be leased out, or that can be a place which can be hired. And especially a lot of locations in India today are specifically designed for cloud kitchens. These are cloud kitchen hubs where a lot of cloud kitchens operate. So you can choose to be in these locations, but neighborhood in a cloud kitchen business is very, very important because it is a volume business. You need to be in the right dense neighborhood for that matter. And Gautam, I see some questions on the menu. Also, a lot of people are looking at menu. And maybe last question before we leave, I want to ask you on the supply chain. I think that was a question which I see coming from somebody. I don't have the name. He's from a city, Manipur, and he's asking if locations like these would also be viable, and would there be enough supply chain that we can manage to places like Imphal, Manipur?
Right. Specifically on that city, we'll have to look at the data and confirm if there's enough business there. I think there are 2 ways to look at it. The top 10 or 15 cities in the country, it's a no-brainer to no-brainer, because there is enough demand from a food delivery perspective in these cities. Some of these cities like Imphal, obviously I can't recollect top of my mind, but the other way to look at it is that it's a small city, but obviously this is the future of the industry, so there will always be an opportunity as you look at it in the next year, if you look at it from the 2 to 3 year horizon, right? On the menu and the supply chain part, like I said, let me just spend a minute or so on the supply chain part. Today what happens is half of our menu is operating on a frozen supply chain, right? So this frozen supply chain, we work with large third-party logistics providers like a Snowman or a Coldex, etc. These are some of the largest cold chain operators in the country, and all the products move from the factories to the last mile kitchen using any one of these cold chain providers, right? So, and these cold chain providers are available across the country. So almost every part of the country, we can basically have the items being shipped to, right? The other part of the supply chain is essentially for the bakery category, where we have standardized a set of raw materials, which is predominantly premixes coming from the portfolio of companies like General Mills, Pillsbury, etc. Which again, I mean, Pillsbury is one of the largest atta brands in the country, right? So it's the same supply chain that is available for cake premixes, and again, it's available across the country, right? So supply chain should not be a challenge across the country. Where do you set up the kitchen in terms of the cities? We take a very data-led, data-backed approach. So we can definitely look at individual cities and individual areas once there is interest. We look at the data from, what is the potential for demand in that area, and then set up the kitchen there.
Sure, that's very, very helpful, and will not hold you long. Friends, I do see cities like Ahmednagar in Maharashtra and also Mangalore, and I believe these are locations which are open, and we'll still check, from the sheet and the list of cities that we have received from Gautam. And friends, we'll come back to you with all your answers, and we'll also seek maybe a time and a date where I will request the team at Cuisina and Gautam can allocate one of their senior members who can come and have maybe a one-to-one discussion with all our prospective investors. And in the meantime, our team at Franchiseindia will also reach out to all of you friends who have come in today, who registered for the webinar, and we'll try and answer and share all the information, financial dynamics, along with the city dynamics and the interests, and we'll also seek time and inform you on that date where we can do a discovery day with the team of Cuisina. And Gautam, before we close, I will request any last message that you have for the audience who's present today, both listening live and on Facebook. Facebook
Sure.
Live and on.
Sure. No, I think happy to do the discovery day, and we'll have some of the key members of the team join that, so that we can share more details about the opportunity at that point in time. But if I have to kind of summarize, right? See, for us, it's been a journey of eight years. We started initially in a sort of a part-time mode when three of us, which is Mahesh, Sumit, and I, were not fully involved. We invested our own capital. Rohan used to take care of the operations. For the first 5 years, we grew it that way. Then we saw that there's a huge opportunity to scale up, and started scaling up between 2019 and 2020. Once the pandemic hit us, what we realized is that this is only getting bigger and bigger. Right? Consumers are continuing to order. And I think Mr. Maria spoke about brands and consumers going back to known brands. In the online world, right, while an average customer would not remember a warm oven or a Cartizone like they do with a Domino's, in the online world, a great rating is the best endorsement for a brand. Right. So we have very good ratings across all of our brands in every location. So by the middle of the pandemic, what we realized is that this has become our strength, the way we've scaled the business. And we also saw that there's a huge opportunity to scale up further, right? Which is when we started, exploring on this path of partners, and which is where I think we got talking to you, and we've started this process here, right? So in a gist, all I'm saying is that this is the future of the industry. We've obviously learned the tricks of the trade over the last 8 years. And we have baked all of that into an operating model, whether it's a technology platform or supply chain, the way we train the staff, etc., to make the whole operations at a kitchen level very, very simple for anybody. And we also support each of the kitchens with revenue management and all the support on online platforms, which makes it very easy to scale up this business, right? Which otherwise is not very easy, because I think it has taken us about 8 years to get here. And this is the future of the industry. Cloud kitchens is going to be a $2-3 billion opportunity in India, and this is what is going to drive food delivery. So we bring all the expertise, and if we have enough partners, we can basically grow across the whole country. So looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you so much, Gautam. Very well summarized. And it's like Gautam mentioned, a very, very competitive market, very high, hyper local competition. And one thing which has clearly come out, in these times is the trust. People want to consume from places they feel safe, and technology is well integrated in the cloud kitchen model. So friends, if you're looking forward to interacting further and having more information on the model, please reach on the hotline number of Franchiseindia. And our teams will be more than happy to extend any information and understanding which needs to be done before we get you connected with the team of Cuisina. Thank you so much, Gautam, once again for being with us. Have a great day ahead. Over to you, Archana.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Gautam, for joining in today and presented your model with us. Thank you so much, Gaurav sir. Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am, for joining in today. We would like to extend our thanks to all the dear friends who have joined us today for the registration as well as attending this webinar. Please do reach out to us at our business hotline number, which is 9717683838. We request you to save this number in your phone book so that you get a regular update from our side. Also join us at our different social handles. We are available at Facebook, Instagram.
We've lost you in between. So friends, this is the Facebook handle that you see on the screen, and the hotline number where you can reach out to. And I will also like to say we have a show which is happening, which is a franchise retail opportunity show, which is happening on 4th and 5th of September in Marriott Hotel, JW Marriott in New Delhi. And this is a physical show where we'll have more than 150 companies participating, 2-day event. We're expecting more than 5,000 business buyers coming and physically meeting companies. I would request all of you who are keen to join can register on franchiseindia.com. Next slide, please, Ashna. And we also have a show which is Bharat show, which happens every day in the evening. And today we are covering. It starts sharp at 7 o'clock. This is the city Raipur that we're doing the show. If you're keen to register yourself and be a part of this virtual event, please register online for the event. And for more details that you see, please again reach on the hotline number of Franchiseindia, which is 9717683838. Thank you so much for being with us. And also last slide, we have a company, international brand called Hudson Coffee. And they're coming to present the opportunity for tomorrow. It is a master franchise opportunity where we're requesting who are keen for looking at area franchisees to register. You can again reach on the hotline number or on the Franchiseindia page, Facebook page of Franchiseindia brands to register yourself for tomorrow's webinar, again sharp at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much, friends, for being with us. Have a great day.